As I think all of us look around the world today, we can't help but notice that within the last, say, 5 years, we have seen an amazing increase in the rise of just secularization, secular thinking. Our culture has become increasingly post-church, post-faith, and really a culture where anything goes. Alpha creates a space for people to go on a journey of faith. And it has a way of meeting them where they are in the midst of the questions that they're actually asking. So, is there a God? Is there more to life than this? And who is Jesus, or who is God? And if he's real, it probably has some sort of impact and meaning on my life. And we allow people to go on a journey of faith that meets them where they are. And Dee's story is just such an amazing example of this. Dee ended up coming into St. Francis Xavier. She had just gotten out of a relationship. She shows up with pink hair. She's probably the only person in the parish with pink hair, and they received her with arms open wide.
In January of 2017, I was sitting in the middle of this crazy relationship. We lived together. He was way older than I was. He had kids. He had been married. I just knew that I wanted something else.
She had wandered in. She actually asked to sit next to me. I was sitting with my kids for the youth ministry, and I said, "Oh yeah, sit down."
She didn't know me. I didn't know her. And I just sat down next to her. And she, of course, was so sweet. And I never would have thought back then when I did that she would become one of my best friends. And it was exactly what I needed. It was uplifting. It showed me that the goodness of God and of Jesus, it was what I needed on that day.
I said, "Hey, there's gonna be this thing called Alpha, and it'll help you get your feet wet, with ministry, and I'm gonna have you lead a group."
And so I go to this first Alpha night, and they're all structured the same way. You meet, you kind of hang out for a little while, you talk to everyone that's there, and then you have a meal together. You break off into a small group, and there's a couple of questions that help you guide a conversation along. And so we would break up into our small groups, ask the questions, and have these conversations. Alpha completely changed my life by showing me who Jesus was, really who he was, and that I could have this relationship with him that was personal. When that happened, it really changed my whole life. And my life has been ups and downs ever since, and a lot of downs. But there's something that happens when you know that you're not alone through it, So if I would have gone through the things that I've gone through this last year without God, I don't know how I would have done it.
To watch a progression from her coming in and, living with her boyfriend and being this really popular radio personality, she's done a lot in her life and really in the world too, and by the world standard, she was pretty successful. And watching her come to faith in Christ and saying yes to what God has for her, but saying no to so many things in her life. She doesn't do certain things now, not because she just thinks they're bad, but because she knows God has more for her. She knows he's calling her to more. And I think that the decisions she's made this year have set her on a path that would be so different than the path she was on before she really knew the Lord.
Alpha helps people come into an understanding that they're loved by God. And as they receive this identity as God's children, suddenly they're able to find meaning in their lives. And once they have their identity secured, they find purpose. They become part of a family.
We've all gotten so close, and it's something different to have a community that is faithful. That's different. To have people who are prayerful, who are living their lives the same way that you want to live your life.
We had the Barna Group do a third-party independent study of Alpha about a year ago, and the findings were this. We discovered that 82% of non-Christians who completed Alpha self-identified as a follower of Jesus within 12 months. 78% of non-active Christians reported regular church attendance after completing Alpha, and 91% of active churchgoers after completing Alpha identified they had a more intimate walk with Jesus. And we were so amazed by these results. And so we know that this works. We know that this works culturally today, and we just want more and more churches and parishes running this. And so all of our work goes towards equipping churches and parishes with this free resource that, for whatever reason, God has anointed and God is using in the world today. And we want to share that as freely as possible. Thank you so much to the Culture of Freedom Initiative for allowing Alpha to be a part of this initiative by seeing churches, ministries, organizations work together towards a common goal of seeing increased marriages, decreased divorces, decreased out-of-wedlock births, and increased church attendance through evangelization. And we know that as people enter into a life of faith, they find identity, they find purpose, they find meaning. As they do that, lives are restored, people are reconciled back to one another and brought into community, and families are healed. Thank you so much.